Hi people. Now this video will be on learning Jyotish, that is astrology, learning astrology. It will also contain resources to cast your own chart, and the video immediately following this will be using Trump's and Biden's chart and their family's chart to gauge who is likely to win the US elections. I say family happiness because I'm going to get all their charts together, the whole family's charts together, the families of Trump and Biden, and see whose family is showing the greater amount of happiness. Okay, so obviously, if Trump wins the election, his family will be very happy, and it will show in their charts. If Biden wins the election, his family will be very happy, and it will show in his chart. Biden's family consisting of Hunter, his daughter Ashley, Jill, these four people, and Biden himself, of course, and Trump's family consisting of Melania, Barron Trump, Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric Trump. We'll see how their families are all pointing towards either happiness or more happiness. As simple as that. Okay. Why astrology? Okay, the whole video will run like this. The first slide will be on why astrology. Then there'll be a discussion of the golden ratio, the divine ratio that governs all the patterns of plants, the flowers, the pattern of life, the pattern of the stars in our in the sky, the pattern of the galaxies, the golden ratio, divine ratio. Here I'll also talk about the Fibonacci um, ratio. You might learn how to read your own charts and look forward with hope. Okay, astrology is not about scaring you to up trees and up walls. Astrology is about to look forward. Is how teaching you how to look forward with hope, and that is because you'll find that good periods and bad periods always follow each other like a sine curve. Okay, when there is a bad period, a good period will automatically follow. You just have to believe that the sun will shine, and that is if you take away one thing from this, I'm trying to tell you that there is always hope ahead. Okay, I'll give you a list of recommended readings, the textbooks for a course. Um, it's very simple books. I've chosen very simple books, three very simple books, and if you ever ask me to teach a course, I'll use those. Then the next slide will explain why we choose Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and so on. Why we choose only 12? Why not Cygnus the Swan, or Canis Major, or Canis Major, or Ursa Major? Or why not choose Sirius the Dog Star as one of the constellations? Why these particular 12 constellations? Why? I'll discuss the plane of the ecliptic. I'll discuss another slide. I'll discuss the same ecliptic, the signs and the lords, Aries lords, etc. Signs and the next slide will be on signs and characteristics of the signs. There'll be I'll tell you where to make your own charts and where to uh, uh, get resources to make your own charts and get your own readings. I'll discuss the symbols, the signs, the lords, the chart types, the signs, the lords of the signs, and the chart types, and of course the symbols in which um, the symbols used to describe them. For instance, Aries looks like the horns of a ram. I'll explain. The next slide will explain why planets can be exalted, debilitated in their own houses, in enemies' houses, etc. I will discuss what is known as 27 nakshatras. Now, this is peculiar to, as far as I know, peculiar to Hindu astrology, where we look beyond the signs to study these 27 nakshatras. Anyway, guess who was born in Abhijit nakshatra? I'll explain that later. We'll discuss orbital periods. The orbital periods being how much time the each planet takes to go around the sun. Why? Because that will determine how long it stays in a sign. For instance, if right now Jupiter is passing through Aries, it'll stay in Aries for about 1 year. So and Saturn stays in a period in a sign for 2.5 years. I'll discuss all that. Now I'll discuss the good times, the challenging times, paradigm shifts, and Sarasati. People go into hysterics, Sarasati, and so you don't need to be scared about Sarasati. That Saturn's 7.5 year period. There's also the periods called Kantaka Shani, Ashtama Shani. All these are challenges, or what we read as challenges, when we have a paradigm shift. Okay, when you have a paradigm shift. As a teaser, I'll tell you that Modi became prime minister, um, Trump became president, all during the Sarasatis. I moved from India to the US during the moment my Sarasati began. So it's basically putting more work on you. Then, of course, there's Kantaka Shani, Ashtama Shani. I'll also discuss positive transits from the moon. When Jupiter gives you positive results, when Saturn gives you challenging results. I'll discuss Saturn's transit, and of course, I'll discuss where I got my references from and the Shutterstock. These Shutterstock is where I got these images from. Okay. Now I love this image. It shows a ship on stormy seas, and this is what astrology teaches you. That is to say, when when supportive winds are blowing, the sails will be down and the ship is going forward. When there is no wind, you have to sit and row. You have to sit and row, and there is when you are facing thunderstorms and typhoons, you lower all the sails and batten down the hatches and just manage to survive. Okay. So astrology tells you that is when the winds will fill your sails, when the winds will become a storm, when there'll be no wind, and when you absolutely have to batten everything down and sit it out. Okay. So why this explains my introduction. Why astrology? Okay. Um, so let's move to the next slide. Astrology and Jyotish demystified. Mystic Pendulum 3 refers to the two videos I made before, Mystic Pendulum 1 and Pendulum 2. Mystic Pendulum 1 uh, dealt with my outlook on mysticism. Mystic Pendulum 2, uh, I told stories about my dad who had certain mystic experiences. Mystic Pendulum 1 is actually where I also showed you how a pendulum, uh, you can use a pendulum to see if your mantras are working. Okay, in this video, I want you to learn how to read your own charts and look forward with hope. Again, I insist on the word hope because Jyotish is not meant to scare the bejesus out of you. No, scare you out of anyway. Uh, Jyotish is not meant to scare you. I'm not an astrologer. I just know and will share a very few basics. Because to be a good astrologer, you have to read tons of books. You have to go to tons of people who know astrology. And this isn't, and anything I say is not in any way meant to supplant sound allopathic medical advice. Okay? Because, well, life is like a boat in an ocean. We sail or row or batten down our hatches and weather the storm. Good times and challenging times alternate. We never need to give up any hope. Jyotish astrology offers us a way to steer clear of pitfalls on the way and avoid torpedoes. If you know that there is a oncoming torpedo, we immediately take evasive action. Now, what interested me most was in some days people used to come with the right-sided hernia to my clinic. In some days people used to come with left-sided hernia. Some days people used to come with central hernia. Some days just ear patients come, mainly ear patients. Some days throat patients, okay? In fact, there is a book on roulette. I've seen that book. It's a what colors to choose at roulette. Now, it's written by a Western author. If I find the book, I'll present it in one of my later videos. He actually does a mass of calculation, and what he's finally using is the Hindu system of Hora. Some Hora, Hora. Some Horas are of different moon Hora, the Hora of the sun, Hora of Mars, Hora of Mercury. All of them respond to a different to a definite color, and if you bet on that color, you're likely to win some money. But let's see. There are big names associated with astrology, notably Carl Jung, De Gaulle, Mitterrand. These are the leaders of France. Ted Roosevelt, Jawaharlal Nehru, and the the first Prime Minister of India, and Rajendra Prasad, the first President of India, made sure that India's exact time of declaring independence was picked according to astrological tenets. Okay, they had very little wiggle room because the British told them we are leaving on this date, and so these two great sons of India, Nehru and Prasad, uh, decided on a time when they would raise the flag of India and say we are a free country now. Anyway, astrology should serve a deeply spiritual purpose and not just mundane activities. I mean, not it should enlighten, it should awaken the spark in you to realize that we are all connected. The universe is a part of us, and everything in the universe is connected to us. Of course, at the Maharishi University, I learned the unified field theory about the string, about quantum entanglement. That is, anything you do or say affects the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Okay. Now, most of the books written in India need to be updated. Many of the books, because uh, the lifestyle of 5,000 years ago, of course, is much different from the lifestyle today. And you can't just say, and actually, for instance, Saturn in the 12th house, in olden times, it used to mean a person who is imprisoned abroad, taken away from the home country as slave and all that. Now it means just someone who can work abroad and earns a living abroad. There's Rahu, the moon's north node and moon's south node. Rahu and Ketu along first and seventh houses. I've inevitably seen it in people who have come abroad for a living. I have it, my wife has it, my kids have it. Uh, I'll also discuss other divinatory in other videos, divinatory techniques, synchronicity, serial time, tarot, runes, I Ching, pendulum. I've done that in Mystic Pendulum 1, the first video, Ouija boards, etc. Actually, everything will connect you to the universe. Now, what's this? Here I'm trying to show the golden ratio, the divine proportion, meaning that everything is proportional. Every everything has a pattern. Okay. Now everything has harmony and balance, and of course Fibonacci's theory is part of that. Now, why doesn't Jyotish work sometimes? Actually, human life has too many variables. There are too many. I mean, I'm influenced by my patients, my home, my family, the person sitting next to me. Um, you have to take account of all the dependents and the independent variables to be 100% accurate. So, uh, maximum good astrology will be about 70 to 80% accurate. So some of them can be tremendously accurate, but about certain points. But if you look at a family's chart, as I said, a family's chart, you can understand which karma they are heading to. For instance, I know a person who had left his family back in a different country and is waiting for the time to know the time when he would rejoin his family. Now, he was told that his family would join him when Jupiter would transit over his sun and moon. He had the sun and moon in the same house. So he waited patiently for 3 years and till Jupiter started transiting his sun and moon, and lo and behold, his family joined him at that particular time, where it signified family happiness. Okay, so uh, so the whole family's chart will be reflected in your happiness. If you are happy, your whole family will be happy, and that is why I personally like to see everybody's chart in the family. As I keep saying, I hope you'll learn how to read your own charts and look forward with hope. And there are some examples I've given here. India had a very famous astrologer called B.V. Raman, who predicted Prime Minister Gandhi's assassination. Okay, and in fact, I used to read his astrological magazine, and I recollect that for a year before the assassination occurred, he kept giving warnings that this is a bad time, this is a bad time. And in fact, he predicted the date at which he would be assassinated. And of course, the date wasn't exactly to the point. There was a gap of about 7 or 8 days. But there you go. I mean, he could predict Indira Gandhi's assassination. And of course, as I said, family charts influence one another. Um, and there's another video I'd like to show you about the whole Gandhi family's chart. Okay, this I've said before. That is to say, um, ancient knowledge has to be updated to reflect modern times. And there are good uh, Eastern astrologers who have done it, who live here, like for instance KRS, the KRS channel, KRS, Kappa Robert S. Smith, um, KRS channel, KRS. He's a very he's good at teaching. Kapil Raj, his name is Kapil Raj. He has his own channel, and I learned a lot from him. See, for instance, Rahu Ketu axis along 1/7. In olden times, a millennium ago, they would say, "Ooh, this person will be taken abroad by force and all that." I found it in almost every every person who was born abroad and has come to the U.S. Saturn in the seventh house also is suggests someone who will marry a spouse not exactly from the same community. Um, so if your children have this, or if you have it, this might alert you to the fact that they might choose someone not of their own community. And so don't go berserk. Oh, my daughter is going to marry someone not from my community. No, it's Saturn in the seventh house is not usually bad. It gives a very hardworking husband or a spouse. Saturn in the 12th house supposedly uh, shows, in the olden books I used to read, suppose Saturn in the 12th house was also not good, but nowadays I know that it is found also in people who have come abroad. Sarasati and Kantakashani, where Saturn goes for 7 houses over the moon, and Sarasati, 7.5 years transit of Saturn in the houses before, on, and after the moon. It's supposedly very bad, but that is when major changes occur. As I said, Modi became prime minister, Trump became president. People leave home to go to a different place during Sarasati. Kantakashani are found in, it's supposed to be a place, a time when people leave their home and go to a different place and have to live with tremendous privations, live in forests and all that. I've seen it mainly in children when they have graduated school and go to college. Then, of course, the first 2.5 years can be a bit troublesome when they have to live on their own and get used to their new surroundings. And some people and most universities are situated in sylvan surroundings anyway. Okay, so Kantakashani is you're supposed to live for 2.5 years in a wooded area, and so on. And that's what happens. I mean, it's usually found in children who leave their home to go to college. So how do we prepare for these waves and storms and get over these waves and storms? We prepare for it by first of all acknowledging that it is coming, knowing that it is there. And of course, mantras, prayers help. As I showed you in Mystic Pendulum 1, my first video, Mystic Pendulum 1, uh, by saying a mantra of prayer, you are generating a tremendously positive energy. And this positive energy can deflect most of the negative emotions, I tell you, that can arise, or the emotion, or the negative thoughts and feelings that can hit you during periods of stress. Okay, so if but any prayer, any your Christian prayer or Muslim prayer, Buddhist prayers, if you do them, you are generating a positive energy which will serve to deflect or keep at bay certain negative emotions that might rise in you. Nowadays, casting charts have become very easy. Many websites on astrology which will cast a chart for you. And teaching, let's teach ourselves the rudiments of Jyotish. Most most of the older books start by teaching how to calculate, how to cast a chart. Nowadays, it's easily done on computer. For instance, one of the books I'll recommend is Ojha's book. First few chapters are just on how to cast your chart, and that's calculation after calculation after calculation. Anyway, so these are the things I'll talk about eventually in all my videos, which I plan. Here, astrology, pendulum, Ouija board, synchronicity, serial time, tarot cards, runes, I Ching. There, I'm going to add the golden ratio, and so on. Let's go to the next slide. These are the three books that I thought would be easiest to read. See, the Vedic Astrology for Beginners. This is written by a Vedic astrologer of a Western background. Okay. Now, Astrology for Beginners is written by an Indian astrologer, and this is a pretty old book written during the time of independence, of India's independence, but which really has some good stuff in it. Ojha's book, Pandit Gopesh Chandra Ojha. This is Pandit Prashar, and this particular is Pamela. Anyway, McDonough. So I would recommend these three books. That is, if you ask me to teach a course. Okay. How to get these books? Of course, you can always buy them from Amazon, but you can get them from the interlibrary loan from your local public library in the US. And this is uh, where the local public library is in Amarillo. There are 4 different branches. This is just one of those branches. You can buy them from Amazon.com, and we can get them from Barnes and Noble. Why I'm talking about Amarillo is because I initially thought of a Jyotish class from my Indian community in Amarillo, but that has, but let's see if the Indian community responds. But okay, so what Jyotish should tell you is that we are part of a universe. We're all connected. Every perspective, visual perspective, sounds, shapes, numbers, etc., are part of this gigantic pattern, the pattern of the galaxies. Nothing is random, nothing comes by accident. It's all part of a pattern of life, okay? We are all in mathematical relationships. Jyotish, that is astrology, is mathematics. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. Okay. Have you ever wondered why we only choose 12 particular constellations? Why is astrology based on Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, in that order. And there is a reason why I've marked some in red. This is the fire signs. Some in brown. This is the earth signs. Okay. The brown are the earth signs. The blue are the air signs. And the deep blue are the water signs. Now, what does it all mean? Let's find out. Why have we chosen these signs? That's because our solar system doesn't go around in random. Jupiter going this way, Saturn going this way, Mercury wriggling along. No. The solar system is actually all in one plane, moving through in a circle on what is known as a plane of the ecliptic. So you can see a gigantic plate with little planets all around it, moving through space, and the edges of the plate are reflecting on the stars here. Okay, on a particular bunch of stars. This is the entire hemisphere boreal, North Pole, the northern hemisphere, Australia, southern hemisphere, all these stars, and yet we choose only 12. Why? Because the whole solar system is going through only 12 constellations. Okay, it's not going haphazardly all over, wriggling all over the universe. No, it's going through 12. See, what is that plane called? The plane at which the solar system is revolving. See, here you find this is the sun, the center, Venus, Sun, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune. They're all going in one plane. They are not, again I repeat, they're not going at different planes. They're all going in one plane. At the edges of the solar system, the Kuiper belt of Kuiper belt, there's the Oort cloud of Oort. And this famous Rahu and Ketu, which people dread. Rahu and Ketu are nothing but mathematical entities where the moon's orbit cuts the sun's orbit. Okay, this is called the north node of the moon, and this is the south node of the moon. Okay, so this is the moon's orbit, Rahu and Ketu. And so that is what it is. Basically, we are mathematical entities, and all these go by mathematics. That's why we can launch satellites into space, rockets into space. And with our mathematical calculations, we know that it will reach at that particular point and that particular time. If it is all haphazard, we'd never have been able to calculate. We'd never have been able to send rockets to Mars and beyond. Okay. So as I said, we stay in a galaxy called the Milky Way. We are on the solar system. Nothing is haphazard. In fact, even the distance of the planets from each other follows the Titius-Bode rule. Now, what is the Titius-Bode rule? Each planet is approximately 2 times farther from the sun as the one before it. So, as I said, everything is mathematical. Everything has a plan, has a ratio. The ecliptic plane is the plane in which the solar system moves across the Milky Way galaxy, so that only Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and so on are at the edges. Now, what is the sidereal? Why is Western astrology so different from Eastern astrology? It's not at all different, actually. Basically, the Western ephemeris, that is the position of the planets as they've calculated, follows what is known as the tropical zodiac, which is about 21 to 24 degrees further ahead of the Eastern, that is the Jyotish sidereal zodiac. So, I was born on 21st April. So that's, according to Western astrology, on the cusp of Aries and Taurus. In Eastern astrology, however, the month begins from the 15th and goes on to the 15th of the next month. In Eastern sidereal astrology, I'm well into Aries, whereas in Western astrology, I'm on the cusp. See, there's a 21 degree difference between the 21 to 24 degree difference with the stars and the signs and all that all 21 to 24 degrees ahead in the tropical zodiac. What is the Lagna ascendant? See, it is the constellation you see first when you look on the eastern horizon when the child is born. So the moment the baby is born, you look east and the constellation that arises on the horizon. Now, if the sun is standing, we can't see any constellations. But the ancients, all this was done 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. Okay, this was done without the, at least we think, without the help of a telescope or with a, but they made all these observations so many millennia ago, calculations, observations. So the ancient, the older astrologers like Tycho Brahe, Kepler, they were all astrologers themselves. Okay. In fact, Newton is known to have used astrology because for them it was just a pattern and um, pattern of events that reflected mankind. Uh, okay, 30 degrees. Now, what I've said here, that each sign, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, are 30 degrees across. So, the whole thing makes 60 degrees. If you multiply uh, the whole thing makes 360 degrees. If you multiply 12 into 30, what do you get? 360. That's the entire circle. So all these constellations are around the edges of a 360-degree circle. Now I hope I'm clear. I've been clear about what the plane of the ecliptic. The plane of the ecliptic is the plane at which the solar system is going, and at the edges of it are the Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and all that. Okay, tropical zodiac is 21 to 24 degrees ahead. Now, why that has come about, it's called the precession of the zodiac. I've tried hard to understand it. It takes a lot of explaining and understanding. Just remember that people who are Taurus in Western system can be Aries in the Eastern system, and that it in fact reflects very beautifully on our cultures, because the cultures are different. If you're an Aries in Western, they'll ask you go fight. You'll be a good general, a good surgeon, a good commanding officer. Whereas in the Eastern system, if you're an Aries, they'll say, don't fight, don't get angry, quieten down, meditate, and so on. Okay, so that's basically the difference. Okay, uh, see, this is the sun, and these are the planets inside them, and this is the edges of the zodiac. And Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo are all distributed along it. Okay, so this basically is the zodiac we are used to. Beyond this zodiac is what is known as nakshatra, constellation. Two and a half nakshatras, to almost two and a half nakshatras to every sign. So there are 27 nakshatras beyond the zodiac. So, see, this Capricorn, it contains about two and a half nakshatras. Some nakshatras overlap on the signs. This is Pisces. It has two and a little bit of another nakshatra. Okay, so these are 27 nakshatras, which actually are extensions of these constellations. Now, I asked you a question, which is Abhijit Nakshatra. Abhijit Nakshatra is that nakshatra under which Sri Krishna was supposed to have been born. It is the 28th nakshatra. Anyway, this picture here shows you how the Milky Way, the solar system is distributed. See, at the edges here, you find the constellations, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, if you look closely. And this is exactly on one plane. That is the plane of the ecliptic. This explains it very well. Now, this little dot drawing shows you what's the lords of the signs are. For instance, the lord of Aries is Mars, the lord of Taurus is Venus. Look at these signs and symbols. I'll show you a slide later which shows you exactly what symbols and are used for what slides. Okay, and so that's it. It's Scorpio. Its lord is Mars. Jupiter's lord is Sagittarius lord is Jupiter. Uh, Capricorn its lord is Saturn, and so on. Some uh, some planets can be lords of more than one houses. Some planets can be, for instance, Saturn is the lord of Capricorn and Aquarius, but we'll discuss that later. Okay. These are very well put forward in the three books I've mentioned. Now, these are online resources where you can click on these and you can see what an ephemeris is. Vedic Jyotish and Panchang, astrology.com, Drik Panchang, Pro Kerala. These can help you make your own chart. Free, most of them are free. Nakshatras and the impact on our lives. Click on this. Tropical and sidereal zodiacs. There. Now there are two very. These are the two very well-known Western astrologers I know of. Susan Miller in Astrology Zone. They are remarkably accurate. Even their general predictions about Aries, Taurus, Gemini are pretty much accurate. Books in addition to the three books I've mentioned, there are James Braha, Robert. These are very good authors of Jyotish, that is Eastern astrology. James Braha, Robert Svoboda, Defoe, Kapil Raj, who has his own channel, KRS channel, KRSastrology.com. So you could have a look at all these. Now, here I've given you the zodiac signs, and these are particular symbols. And here I've given you the symbols of planets. So don't be surprised if you find these symbols and people ask you what does it mean. See, you'll have to know this pretty well if you want to do astrology. So these are the signs and their lords. Moon rules over Cancer. Sun rules over Leo. Mercury rules over Virgo. These are typical for these planets. And see, I've given you the planet symbols, the sign symbols here and planet symbols here. So you have to know them. And this shows the lordship. For instance, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. See how Uranus looks like a television antenna. Why does it look like a television antenna? Because the television was discovered. The idea of radio broadcast was discovered when Uranus was discovered. This is Aquarius. Now, what do you think this is? What does it represent? Trident, Neptune's trident. Neptune's trident. Okay. So this is the Pisces. There's Lord is Jupiter and Neptune. Two planets having the lordship of one sign. Aries, the Lord is Mars. Taurus, Lord is Venus. Mercury, Lord is Mercury. This is Gemini, Lord is Mercury. Virgo, Lord is this is Scorpio. Virgo and Scorpio look very similar. Virgo, Lord is Mercury. Leo, Sun is Lord is Aries. Now, there are also air signs, water signs. This figure tells you which are the air signs. There are 3 air signs, 3 water signs, 3 fire signs, like that. Okay. So 3 fours are 12. Fire, air, earth, water. Fire, see, this is Aries is fire, Taurus is earth, green, Gemini is air, and Cancer is water. Earth, fire, earth, Libra, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. Now this is the Western arrangement. In the Western arrangement, why is it like this? Why why is it like this? Aries, why is it going with this ground this way? Because suppose we are sitting here, the heavens are actually rotating that way. Okay, so the rising sign is coming up like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. This is the rising sign. The first sign of the zodiac is rising. The earth is moving this way. The heavens are rising that way. The opposite, okay? Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo. Now, the South Indian charts, this is the South Indian chart, this is the North Indian chart. This is the Western chart. Anyway, it's all written there. This is the uh, South Indian chart. You see, it goes clockwise. The North Indian chart goes anti-clockwise. This is clockwise, anti-clockwise. Yeah, now, in this chart, again, we see the lordships of the planets and all that. And some planets own a sign, and some planets are weak in some signs. Okay, so debilitated means weak. So Sun is exalted, that is, feel very happy in Aries. So Aries is a sign of Mars. So this is the exaltation. See, planets uh, can own certain houses and be exalted. That is, uh, they feel very happy in some houses. So Sun feels happy in Aries, Moon feels happy in Taurus, even though it's not its own sign. Mars feels happy in Capricorn, so on. They give particularly good results when in those signs. Okay, but the suns can also be weak and debilitated in certain signs, and these are it. And here I've given you where, in which this is the Western system. So the month starts, the sign starts from roughly the 20th of March, 20, April 20th, and all that. Okay, this is the Western system. I don't know how far this is helping you. Okay, this is the signs and the nakshatras. Nakshatra meaning constellations beyond the signs, which are given tremendous importance in Eastern astrology. Western astrology, I think, just stops here. Eastern astrology goes beyond to the nakshatras. And you find that the sign of Aries has, in Eastern system, has three constellations: Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika. Taurus has also three constellations: Kritika, Rohini, uh, Mrigasura, and all that. Okay, so there are 27 of them. So what are nakshatras? Nakshatras are just constellations beyond. If you look through, if you look beyond that Aries, you'll find these. Okay. Again, not on the same plane, not on planes rotating all over the universe. No. And here also are the nakshatras at the side, and the planets, and the names of the signs. So 27 nakshatras. Okay. Now there are good times, challenging times, paradigm shifts. Sarasati is the 7.5 years transit of Saturn. Suppose your moon is situated here. Saturn takes 7.5 years to transit the sign ahead of the moon, the sign of the moon, and the sign in front of the moon. 2.5 years in each sign. Saturn stays 2.5 years in each sign, and when Saturn moves in the house before, in the house of, in the house after your moon, that's called Sarasati. That portends tremendous changes. Now these are the periods. The sun stays in one sign for 1 month, so 12 sign in all 12 months. Moon stays for 2 or 3 days in one sign. Mercury stays for 25 days, almost a month in one sign. Venus stays for a month in one sign. Mars stays for 2 months in one sign. Jupiter stays for 1 year in one sign. Saturn 2.5 years, and Rahu stays 1 year, 6 months, 18 days. And so on. See over here, it shows that Neptune stays a very long, 165 years. Uranus stays 64 years in one sign. Saturn stays 29 years. Jupiter says, no, this is actually the orbital periods, how long it takes to go around, the sun. Okay, so Mercury goes around the sun in so many days, 225 days, Earth 365 days, Mars is Jupiter 12 years, Saturn 29, Uranus, and so forth. Okay, this shows the orbital period. That is to say, how long it takes to orbit the sun. And this is just to show you how it's being read in the Western system. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. In the in the Northern system also Aries, Taurus, Gemini, like this. But in the South Indian system of chart making, it's this way. Now this will be easily understood if you have a chart in front of you, which eventually we will. Now again here, I've told you how long each planet stays in each sign. So the positive transit position from the moon, when moon is on the sign, when the moon is transiting the sign of natal moon, okay, that is your moon is in a particular place in the chart. When the actual moon is going over that particular moon, it's the first house. Then when it's going to the third position of the moon, third house, sixth house, seventh house, 10th house, 11th. The position is always number one, where the moon is, where your natal moon is, and this is the transit moon. First house is the house in which your moon is, and third house is the third from that position. These gives positive results. Sun, third from the moon, the sixth from the moon, the 10th, the 11th. Venus from the first, the third, the second, the third. When we come to the Trump's and Biden's chart, we'll know exactly when these positive transits are occurring. Saturn gives positive transit effects on the third house from the moon, 6th and 11th house. Rahu gives positive effects on the 3rd, 6th, 11th, Ketu and so on. Saraswati 7.5 years means the 7.5 years taken by Saturn to transit the house previous to the moon, the house of the moon, and the house in front of the moon. That takes 7.5 years. Why? Because Saturn stays in one sign for 2.5 years. Kantaka Shani is when Saturn transits the fourth sign from the moon sign. The fourth sign from the moon sign, it stays there in 2.5 years, and that is when you have to move away from home, or your home is located, or there are troubles to mother, troubles to your mind and all that. But Ashtama Shani is when elderly people and elderly thoughts and elderly paradigms pass away, or a new person, or you have new persons born into the family. Ashtama Shani. It's all well written in those books. I'm telling you this all just to give you some interest in it. Okay. Here I've told you that the whole family portends coming events. That is, good times are reflected in the whole family's charts. And so let's see if either Biden or Trump, who will win, Biden or Trump. Let's see. My knowledge is pretty limited anyway. But I use the whole family's chart to make a prediction as to whether things will work out or whether you'll be happy. Here again, I've explained what Saraswati takes Saturn in the first, 12th, and second. Kantaka Shani is 2.5 years, Saturn in the fourth. Ashtama Shani, these are all times when your paradigm has to shift. Okay, people say they are bad times, but I've seen very good things happening during these times. Okay, so how long I have kept repeating this because that's because I tell you they're important. Okay. Good times, challenging times, and paradigm shifts. Now these are the references. I've finished I've reached the end of my little exposition. I hope you've learned something from it, or at least where to get these things from. There are nice references. Einstein quote, aluminium. This is aluminium boat and galley. I was trying to find pictures of boats in the ocean and all that. Titus tedious board law here, online Vedic ephemeris, Vedic Jyotish and Panchang. Here, if you click on any of these, you'll get chart making sites. Celestial planets, that's where I got the images of the celestial planets, the constellations. Okay, zodiac signs and elements. References continue. What is meant by a tropical and sidereal zodiac? Then what is meant by the ecliptic? What is meant by zodiac, nakshatras and their impacts on lives? Important site. Suns and planets. Zodiac signs and planetary symbols. The sun and planets, zodiac signs, rulers and planetary houses, exaltation and debilitation signs, orbital periods. And these are the figure. How long does the planet stay in each sign? Anyway, this is where I got my pictures from. And here. Okay, let's now convert this into a video.